Module 68, Schizophrenia. Imagine trying to communicate with Maxine, a young woman with schizophrenia whose thoughts spill out in no logical order. Her biographer, Susan Sheehan, observed her saying aloud to no one in particular, "This morning when I was at Hillside Hospital, I was making a movie. I was surrounded by movie stars. I'm Mary Poppins. Is this room painted blue just to get me upset? My grandmother died 4 weeks ago after my 18th birthday." Nearly 1 in 100 people, about 60% men, develop schizophrenia, with an estimated 24 million across the world suffering from this disorder, according to the World Health Organization. Literally translated, schizophrenia means split mind. It refers not to multiple personality splits, but rather to a split from reality that shows itself in disturbed perceptions, disorganized thinking, and speech, and diminished, inappropriate emotions. As such, it is the chief example of a psychosis, a psychotic disorder which is marked by irrationality and lost contact with reality. As Maxine's strange monologue illustrates, the thinking of a person with schizophrenia is fragmented. It's often bizarre, often distorted by false beliefs, called delusions. I'm Mary Poppins, for example. Those with paranoid tendencies are particularly prone to delusions of persecution. Even within sentences, jumbled ideas may create what is called a word salad. One young man begged for a little more allegro in the treatment and suggested that a liberationary movement with a view to the wilderness of the horizon will ergo extort some wit in lectures. A person with schizophrenia may have hallucinations. They may see, feel, taste, or even smell things that aren't there. Hallucinations are sensory experiences without sensory stimulation. Most often, however, the hallucinations are auditory. Frequently they're voices that make insulting remarks or even give orders. The voices may tell the patient that she is bad or that she must burn herself with a cigarette lighter. Imagine your own reaction if a dream broke into your waking consciousness. When the unreal seems real, the resulting perceptions are at best bizarre and at worst terrifying. Disorganized thoughts may result from a breakdown in selective attention. Recall from Module 16 a long time ago that we normally have a remarkable capacity for giving our undivided attention to one set of sensory stimuli while filtering out others. But those with schizophrenia just can't do this. Thus, irrelevant, minute stimuli, such as the grooves on a brick or the inflections of a voice, may distract their attention from a bigger event or a speaker's meaning. As one former patient recalled, "What had happened to me was a breakdown in the filter, and a hodgepodge of unrelated stimuli were just distracting me from the things which should have had my undivided attention." This selective attention difficulty is but one of dozens of cognitive differences associated with schizophrenia. The expressed emotions of schizophrenia are often utterly inappropriate, split off from reality. Maxine laughed after recalling her grandmother's death. On other occasions, she cried when others laughed, or became angry for no apparent reason. Others with schizophrenia lapse into an emotionless state of flat affect. Most also have difficulty perceiving facial emotions and reading others' states of mind. Motor behavior may also be inappropriate. Some perform senseless, compulsive acts, such as continually rocking or rubbing an arm. Others who exhibit catatonia may remain motionless for hours and then become agitated. As you can imagine, such disorganized thinking, disturbed perceptions, and inappropriate emotions profoundly disrupt social relationships and make it really difficult to hold a job, for example. Even those with dissociative identity disorder, which we'll discuss later in this unit, may continue to function in everyday life, but less so with schizophrenia. During their most severe periods, those with schizophrenia live in a private inner world. They're preoccupied with illogical ideas, unreal images. Given a supportive environment and medication, over 40% of schizophrenia patients will have periods of a year or more of normal life. Many others remain socially withdrawn, though, isolated, rejected through much of their lives.
So, at some point during that summer, I came home after being out riding my bike, and my mom sitting at home smoking cigarettes, chain smoking cigarettes. She's like, "Let's go out for dinner." I was like, "What?" "Let's go out for dinner." And she mentioned this restaurant that doesn't exist anymore. It was called the Log Cabin or something like that.
Where was it?
Down in Bellingham. And I didn't know how to get there, but I knew the general direction that it was in. And when we left the house, we weren't going in that direction. We ended up getting on 146 and heading towards Worcester. And we started going really, really, really fast. I was like, "Mom, we're going fast. What's going on?" She's like, "Get on the floor." I'm like, "Why?" "There are men with machine guns. They're trying to kill us." "Okay." I'm on the floor. And I sit down there, and I hide as she takes us on this journey.
You're afraid.
Oh, yeah.
What are you afraid of, your mom or the men with the machine guns?
Men with the machine guns. I'm afraid of men with the machine guns. And I'm sitting on the floor crying because there are people trying to kill us. I trust my mom. I trusted my mom. I believed her. And we eventually pull in. We go wherever we go, because I don't know where we're going. We actually end up back at the police station. And this is where I say my mom, even when she couldn't take care of me, took care of me. I don't know if she did it because she wanted to really tell the cops that there were bad people chasing us, and she thought they would believe her, or if she did it because she knew she was sick and she needed help. When we walked into the police station, and she told the story, and they looked at me, and I went, "Okay, get in your car, follow us, we'll take you to a place that's safe."
Get in your car, follow us?
Yep. Get in your car, follow us, we'll take you to a place that's safe. You gotta remember, this is back 79, 80, when, they were small town cops. They didn't know how to handle this. So, police got in front, mom followed behind. I have no idea if there was a car behind us. I just know my mom followed the cops. Lights going. We didn't go fast. Ended up at the time it was the Whitensville Hospital. Walked in, sat down in the waiting room. Mom went into one of the emergency rooms and ended up falling asleep on the couch. And I woke up at one point. I heard my mom yelling, and then they shut the door somewhere. I fell back asleep. And I woke up again when my aunt was shaking my shoulder. "Come on, let's go." That was it. It was the last time I saw my mom for over a year.
Onset and development of schizophrenia. So schizophrenia typically strikes young people as they're maturing into adulthood. It only afflicts about 1 in 100 people, but it knows no national boundaries. It affects both males and females, though men tend to be struck a little bit earlier, more severely, and slightly more often. For some, schizophrenia will appear suddenly, seemingly as a reaction to stress. For others, as was the case with Maxine at the beginning of the unit, schizophrenia develops gradually, emerging from a long history of social inadequacy or poor school performance. No wonder those predisposed to schizophrenia often end up in the lower socioeconomic levels or even homeless. We have thus far described schizophrenia as if it were a single disorder, but actually it varies. Schizophrenia patients with positive symptoms may experience hallucinations, talk in really disorganized or diluted ways, exhibit inappropriate laughter, tears, or rage. But those with negative symptoms have toneless voices, expressionless faces, or maybe even mute or rigid bodies. Positive symptoms are the presence of inappropriate behaviors, and negative symptoms are the absence of appropriate behaviors. When schizophrenia is a slow developing process called chronic or process schizophrenia, recovery is doubtful. Those with chronic schizophrenia often exhibit the persistent and incapacitating negative symptoms of social withdrawal. Men whose schizophrenia develop on average 4 years earlier than women's more often exhibit negative symptoms and chronic schizophrenia. When previously well-adjusted people develop schizophrenia rapidly, called acute or reactive schizophrenia, following particular life stresses, recovery is more likely. They more often have a positive symptom that are responsive to drug therapy. Understanding schizophrenia. Last piece. Schizophrenia is not only the most dreaded psychological disorder for many, but also one of the most heavily researched. Most of the new research studies links with brain abnormalities and genetic predispositions. Schizophrenia is a disease of the brain that manifests its symptoms of the mind. Brain or abnormalities. Might imbalances in brain chemistry underlie schizophrenia? Scientists have long known that strange behavior can have strange chemical causes. The saying "mad as a hatter" refers to a psychological deterioration of British hat makers whose brains, it was later discovered, were slowly being poisoned as they moistened the brims of mercury-laden felt hats with their tongues and lips. As we saw in Module 25, scientists are clarifying the mechanism by which chemicals such as LSD produce hallucinations. These discoveries hint that schizophrenia symptoms might have a biochemical key. Dopamine overactivity. Researchers discovered one such key when they examined schizophrenia patients' brains after death and found an excess of receptors for dopamine, a 6-fold excess for the so-called D4 dopamine receptor. They now speculate that such hyper-responsive dopamine systems may intensify brain signals in schizophrenia, creating positive symptoms such as hallucinations and paranoia. As we might therefore expect, drugs that block dopamine receptors often lessen these symptoms. Drugs that increase dopamine levels, such as amphetamines and cocaine, intensify them. Modern brain scanning techniques reveal that many people with chronic schizophrenia have abnormal activity in multiple brain areas. Some have abnormally low brain activity in the frontal lobes, which are critical for reasoning, planning, and problem solving. People diagnosed with schizophrenia also display, oftentimes, a noticeable decline in brain waves that reflect synchronized neural firing in the frontal lobes. Out-of-sync neurons may disrupt the integrated functioning of neural networks, possibly contributing to schizophrenia symptoms. One study took PET scans of brain activity while people were hallucinating. When participants heard a voice or saw something, their brain became vigorously active in several core regions, including the thalamus, a structure deep in the brain that filters incoming sensory signals. Many studies have found enlarged fluid-filled areas and a corresponding shrinkage and thinning of cerebral tissue in people with schizophrenia. Some studies have even found that such abnormalities in the brains of people who would later develop disorder and in their close relatives. The greater the brain shrinkage, the more severe the thought disorder.